evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are watching us from, our distinguished audience. You are highly welcome. I'm your regular host, Comfort Eyitayo, for the Connect with Comfort show. This show is to add value to people on business enterprise and personal growth, and we feature guests who are subject matter experts to help us to throw more insights on the topic of the day. I'm glad to have you join us today. You are most welcome. Today's topic is focused on a subject that is of paramount importance to all of us, and that is personal finance and goal setting. Today, we embark on a journey that has the potential to transform not just our financial well being, but also the way we envision and plan our futures. Our world today is filled with endless opportunities and ever evolving financial concerns. For us to set meaningful goals and manage our finances wisely may become very daunting. However, it is pivotal skill that empowers us to achieve our dreams. So today we plan to provide insight with the help of our guest into the art of goal setting, which is a fundamental pillar to get our financial success very solidly built. We will explore the means to not only secure our financial future, but also to pursue our life's passion with confidence. So once again, I would like to welcome you and thank you for joining us on this show. Let us go into the world of personal finance and goal setting together. After this short break, we'll be right back. Please remain connected. Thank you. You are welcome back. I'm sure you got a tip or two from that video.
Mhm.
We have our guest already in the house, and she's no other than Joanna Peter-Eze. She's the expert in the house to help us shed more insight to the topic at hand. Please join me in welcoming warmly our guest for today's topic, Joanna Eze. You are highly welcome, Joanna. Thanks for making time to join us on this show and willing to make us tap into your wealth of experience on this special topic. We are very grateful. We don't take it for granted. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, ma. Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. It's such an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you so much.
So, thank you. We move straight quickly into our first question. What are the key principles of personal finance?
Okay, so um, for me, my goal is to be as practical as possible. So um, they are going to be from what I believe, what I've seen work. So I will start with, for example, the principle of income earning. So it's very important. I mean, if you're talking about personal finance, there needs to be an earning to start with. Something needs to be coming in terms of income, whether it's income from employment or income from your business. Very important. There needs to be an income or a earning. Another important principle is lowering your expenses. So if you want your personal finance to grow, definitely there's need to control or lower expenses or monitor expenses. Another important principle is the principle of saving. Personal finance, there's need for saving, and saving is, if I want to use the net of your income over your expenses. So what you have left from income, from taking away expenses from income, in very late terms, is your saving. Now, ultimately, in personal finance, is the place of investment. Investment is the ultimate destination when it comes to personal finance. If you're not investing, you have not started when it comes to personal finance. So those four for now.
Thank you very much. I'm sure there are key points that you have made. So, in going through what you have told us, what is the importance of goal setting in personal finance?
Okay,
Because we are
so
looking at personal finance and goal setting.
financial goal setting. Okay, so
Right.
I would compare it to the importance of a goal post in a football match, on a football pitch. So when it comes to personal finance, there needs to be goal setting serves as something that ensures that there is a purpose when it comes to personal finance. What am I saving for? Um, what is the measure that controls my expenses? So when it comes to goal setting helps you to know how far you are going and what exactly you want to achieve on your personal finance journey. So goal setting is very, very important when it comes to personal finance. It helps you to achieve your objective in your personal finance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, it's like having a compass on a journey. So, it
Exactly.
guides us. Yeah, that's very good. So, we need to set our goals to make sure that that desire of managing our personal finance can be achieved.
Very true.
Now, what are the common financial goals that you have seen people set for themselves? Just example of personal financial goals.
Okay, so let's make it very relatable. It can be relating to projects such as your rent. saving for your rent, saving for school fees or an examination. And also, it can also include things such as saving for different types of investments. You're setting money aside to invest in treasury bills, for example, or to invest in mutual funds. So the lists are endless when it comes to setting financial goals, because every so long as the activity has a cost implication or a financial implication, definitely there is need, to ensure that there is a deliberate act to make a provision for that activity. Oh, your volume. Your volume.
Sorry, I was muted. So
All
I
right.
was I was saying, how can one create a realistic budget to achieve
Mhm.
financial goal?
Realistic. Hmm. Key
Budget.
keyword is realistic. And so I think I will start by saying do what works for you. That's number one. And it's very, very important. Create a budget that works for you. So for me, yes, there's several budget templates online. It was until I was able to design a peculiar budget that I got my budgeting perfect or right to start with. So when it comes to a budget being realistic, it's important to ensure that um what's the word I want to use? It's important to ensure that there's no pressure on that budget for items that do not really concern you. So for example, um for my budget, for example, if I am if I'm putting let me use tithe. If I'm putting a tithe of 80%, you know, it's not realistic because I have other obligations to live up to. But if I should make my tithe say, maybe the standard 10% or something lower thereabout, it makes it very realistic. So the same thing too. If I'm budgeting for food, for example, I shouldn't spend all my salary on budget. There's need to ensure that I'm making it as realistic as possible per time. So I just think that when it comes to being realistic, it's very, very personal, and it should be what works for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think what comes out from this is that you can have a standard template, but it's just to have as a guide. Even budget itself is a guide
True.
because there's no perfect figures that you can get that it will be exact. You can be under, you can be over. But when we now talk of having a realistic budget, and you said there should not be pressure, what that means is that maybe not do not have a over ambitious budget
Exactly.
that you will not be able to achieve. So
Exactly.
um, once you start with a realistic expectation in terms of your cost, of course you start from looking at what resources are available to you anyway, because you might have different costs here and there. If the resources
True.
are not sufficient, you just have to prune down the cost. So I
True.
think that is a very good point for us to learn. So what is the difference between short-term and long-term financial goals?
Okay. So um, just like their names imply, most times short-term goals can be recurrent, or even, okay, let me use very late terms. They can be daily. It can be goals for the month. It can be goals for the year. It can be goals for a week. So for example, from your salary, if you set aside an amount for your transportation, okay, you're looking at how to reduce your transportation, how to find some savings from your transport, for example. It's a short-term goal. When it comes to feeding, you're looking for how do you reduce your feeding to ensure that you're not spending so much on feeding. It's a short-term goal. If you're looking at, so day to day activities or expenses or costs that are day to day, are short term or for a short period of time. Now, when it comes to long term, most times, I think for personal finance, I know, yes, the standard would say 1 year and above, the same thing. So yes, I was still using 1 year and above. So like your rent now, your rent is a one-off, so it's a long term. Um, if you're setting aside funds for investments, like you want to invest in whether it's land, real estate, or you're traveling, for example, or um those things, that I think the principle is that those things that are not every day, you don't travel every day, you don't pay your rent every day, you don't set aside, so there are some activities that are not on a daily basis, so we'll call those long term goals. So the ones that are daily are short term, or the ones that have a short time frame are short term. Then the ones that are for a longer period of time, we can classify them as long-term financial goals. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Essentially, is the difference is in the duration of
Exactly.
is in the duration. So if you are having a long-term financial goal, for instance, you have to be deliberate in your planning. There are things that you need to consider. If you are going to put money aside, it must be money that you don't need immediately. So
Exactly.
don't go and put money. Even when we talk of rent being one of or something, it depends on the tenancy agreement you have. If you are
Agreement.
a monthly if you're a monthly tenant that you need to pay, and your landlord is around the corner of your house at every 25th of the month, you cannot have that as a long-term
Of
goal.
course.
So it depends.
Definitely.
It depends on the duration, really, and then
Definitely.
what that means. Essentially, the important thing that we should note is that when we are having long-term goal, like if you're a tenant, it will be desired for everybody to own their own houses, and you want to
Exactly.
put money aside for that. You are preparing for a long-term goal because it's not something that will happen in a day. So you need to be sure that you are not using short-term funds to plan for your long-term project. So it will be a mismatch. So that's
Very
what
true.
that one is telling us. We have to be very careful of the duration. Thank you very much. So,
Thank
what
you.
would you consider effective strategies for saving money and building an emergency fund?
Hmm. Okay, so I think an important strategy for saving money and building emergency fund has to do first of all with your income. So again, like we talked about earlier, if your income is not realistic, so let me put it this way: the higher you earn, the higher the likelihood for you to have what to set aside for saving. Keyword is higher the likelihood, because most times the temptation is that when we earn higher, our expenses tends to go higher as well. So maybe the balance here or the check here will be that to ensure that as we earn higher, we lower expenses as much, we either maintain or lower expenses if possible, so that we can have enough to set aside for saving and for emergency funds. So I think that income plays a very key role, a very key part in having savings and being able to set aside emergency funds. Thank you.
Thank you. The lesson you have told us is that first and foremost, we must consider what our income is.
True.
And that is very key because when we want to make deliberate efforts to say we save, to build either for the investment or emergency fund, it is something that you have to deliberately do. So we have to be conscious of what our earnings, total earnings, either from salary or other businesses, the total resources available to us in terms of finance. And then we also have to have the discipline to, and that is the word deliberate now, to make sure that we are consistent and constant in that habit of saving. It's not to save 10,000 this month and next month maybe you heard of Owambe and you quickly use that money and
Yeah.
say you double it next month. That may become difficult because there are other things that will be contending for the usage of that resources. So you have to be deliberate in your effort in making sure that you set aside, you get yourself disciplined. Come rain, come shine. If it is a tenth of your salary that you have proposed to save, that tenth must not be touched. And just look at it that it's not part of your earning. That's what works for me. What works for individuals will differ. But that's the principle, that you just discipline yourself, that I have looked at my circumstances. I'm sure I'll be able to set aside 10,000, 20,000 per month effortlessly,
Mm-hmm.
and that one
Forward.
should, you should be constant with that. That way you are able to set aside a lot of reasonable size of money, both for investment and emergency fund.
Okay,
Everybody
so
have emergency, nobody plan for it, but
so
it
true.
just come. Mhm. You're
So
going
okay,
to
let
say,
me just quickly chip in something that
yeah,
when it comes to, I totally agree with you. So I think maybe the guide will be that people must learn to save before spending. So when you have an income, you know, the typical
you take
habit
that
is
out,
to spend, then try to save what is left.
what is remaining,
So
yeah,
what helps me as a rule is immediately, my salary comes in, the first thing I do is to set aside what I want to save. Then I spend the rest. Not spend and try to save. No.
yes,
So I save first and I leave off on what is the balance of my saving. So that's the
it's left.
reverse that'll be
That's
very
it.
helpful. Thank you very much.
That's it. Thank you. So, what role does debt management play in achieving financial goals?
Hmm.
Debt
Okay.
management.
So it's interesting. I know, yes, the average person is debt shy. But so I think the very first step, where one has an existing debt, the very first step should be to eliminate it. You cannot grow wealth in debt. You cannot grow wealth in debt because debt takes away from you, it doesn't add to you. The only caveat is unless you're using that debt to create wealth. Most times we use debt to incur expenses. So the only caveat to engaging in debt is unless if that debt is for the purpose of creating wealth. So, for example, if you're taking a loan to buy a house for rental, that house is earning income. That house has the capacity to pay off that debt in the long run. It's different from taking a loan to, say, buy a house to live in, and there's no means of paying back that. So I think the first step really is um, to eliminate the existing debt as much as possible so that you can know what you really have to grow as wealth. So eliminate debt, and where one must take advantage of debt, it must be to earn wealth and not for consumption. Thank you.
You are very right. In fact, one of our online audience, Pastor Sheyi, just chipped in that good debt versus bad debt. Bad debt, although has a different definition, but in this
True.
case, it's referring to having to incur debt to sustain your lifestyle. not something,
Exactly.
not for investment, not for growth. But debt can be good when it's
Exactly.
actually to go for more expansion strategies in your business, or to do things that will bring in more money, and then also will repay the debt itself without having
Exactly.
to inflict the little you have. So it's in that sense that we can say somebody even said, oh, that must be eliminated also. That those ones will fall into the category of bad debt.
Bad debt,
Although,
definitely.
although the definition that a finance person will give bad debt also is debt that cannot be repaid. Like somebody borrowed money from you, and the indices are there that this person does not have the resources to pay. So you have to quickly overlook it in your book and not continue to look at it as an asset. So it becomes a
True.
bad debt. Excuse me, but in the ordinary meaning of bad debt in the context of what you have told us is borrowing money to do, like, I guess our online audience said, or to do
Oh, yeah.
to buy ashwebi and things like that. That one is a bad debt. And you don't borrow money to go and buy car, show
Mm-hmm. I
that
was about
status
to say that.
symbol. You go and buy car. Car is not really an asset, it's perishable. The moment you buy that car, that very first day you ride that car, it has become second hand.
True.
And whatever, even if you decide to sell it that day, you cannot get the same value for it. So those are the things to consider. Thank you very much for drawing that important point out. How can someone start investing and planning for their retirement?
Hmm. Interesting. Okay. The
Because that's under
earlier,
personal.
yes, no, of course, I pause because it's something that I've been talking about a lot recently. Retirement
Mm,
in personal finance. So I'm happy that it came up. So I think to start with, early planning is very, very important, and age plays a key role. So if one starts early, right? If one starts early in planning for retirement, that's the irony. The irony is that um, if only people from the first day you get your job, as a GT, as a graduate trainee, you're already planning for retirement, as strange as that sounds, it
yeah.
helps you to set aside much more. So, um, for someone who is younger relatively, say in your 20s or 30s, you can save more, you can set more aside while you're younger, to take advantage of compounding interest, higher returns, even higher risk because you're younger and you have time and opportunity on your side to recoup. But for somebody who is, say, your 40s, 50s, 60s, and you're already close to retirement, in that case, you really have to two things. Again, the income comes into play. So it's either you're looking for how to earn more so that you can have more to set aside. So in proper planning for retirement, how much you have set aside is very, very important. And again, back to one of the points you mentioned earlier, what works for each person varies. So it's for one to know what are the opportunities that are available for me to earn more within the time frame I have before retirement. How can I earn within this period? What are the sources of income that I can take advantage of within this period, so that I can have I can have my retirement targets or goal achieved before retirement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's telling us that we should make hay while the sun shines. Because in our youth, in our younger time, we have more time on our hand and a longer period to save and plan for
True.
retirement. We should not
True.
be planning for retirement at the twilight days of your retirement. That would be too late. And
Yes.
it's time when you still have the time to start thinking of how best to augment your earnings.
True.
Possibly like some the common saying that having other streams of income, that is
Exactly.
investing in other areas that can give you additional streams of income, not relying solely on what you are doing now to get money. Because at the end of the day, when you get to retirement or retirement age,
Mm-hmm.
you are not as strong and agile as before. Moving up here and there, doing stuff and taking risk is not advisable at your retirement age, because
So
if
true.
anything should go wrong, you can be left in the cold. So the time to start saving for retirement is when you are young. And like she rightly said, the day you are employed should be the day you start considering your retirement, the day you get your employment. And that's for our younger ones, not for all this like us. When you get employed, that day you start thinking of retirement age, because one day it will happen. People always see it as a long or far away thing, but it comes so quickly that you think how the time flies. It's like yesterday. So once you have that at the back of your mind, part of the strategies that we said, making deliberate effort to make savings, and not just making savings and keeping the money in cash. These days that inflation is not only having legs, it's having wings, because it's inflation is flying. It's not just legs. So you need to invest wisely with that
Yes.
money. Don't just keep money in a cash format.
Hmm.
And that is not, you'll be losing value, because money you keep, 100,000 you keep in your bank account, will not be able to buy the worth of what 100,000 will buy today, tomorrow. So
Definitely.
consider, if you are not able to make the right judgment, consider the help of consultants, good consultant that can invest or give you good advice for investment. So that is what will be advisable in that area for
Please
retirement. And if you
let me.
own your business,
Yeah.
go ahead, go ahead,
No, no, please.
go
When you're
ahead.
done, I want to chip in something, but when you're done, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you own your business, we all do this. We all have this mistake that yes, you mix all the things, both business money or personal money, you mix it up. And when you are working, oh, let me just work and pay other people. Pay yourself first, and then all the other strategies that we have discussed, you now apply to what you have paid yourself. Before you now, maybe at the end of the year, know the profit that you have left, which you can see as addition to your income. Pay yourself first, and then apply the golden rule of setting aside a fixed sum or certain sum monthly to make sure that you save and invest that savings to grow more for you. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to chip in something on retirement investments, which you mentioned. And it's very important that as so depending on your age bracket you fall under, if you're younger, you can take advantage of high risk and high returns. But as you grow older, definitely, or as you're closer to retirement age, let me put it that way, it's safer to invest in low risk investments. I can't emphasize that enough. I'll give a personal example.
Mhm.
A few years ago, in the boom of agrotech, and that was interestingly, I just put in like maybe 50,000 naira, 75 k. Then the returns were crazy, were very high. 75,000 came back. So eventually, I put, say, 300,000 naira in one of these agrotech ventures, and the money did not come back. Now, when that happened, I didn't worry because I had high earning capacity during that period. I could save that money back in a month or two. Now, imagine if I was in my 60s or 50s and it was 30 million that I had put in agrotech that went down the drain because it was high risk. So I use that analogy to buttress the importance of when you're when you're younger, you can take high risk because you have time and opportunity, like you said, to recoup your investment. You have higher earning capacity, you have years ahead of you. But the closer you are to retirement, please, please, please invest in low risk investments, whether it's treasury bills, whether it's mutual funds, things that keep your capital safe. So you're not looking to double your money, you're looking to preserve your money as much as possible. Like you mentioned, because it's not a time to lose money, just to avoid, being in more trouble than bargain. So I just thought to chip that in. Thank you very much.
Yes, that's very true. Thank you very much. So, what strategies can people use to stay motivated and on track with their financial goals?
Hmm. Okay, so we already mentioned budgets. It's a budget is a very important strategy. Keeping having budgets on a monthly basis, not one off. On a monthly basis, working with a budget cannot be overemphasized. It's very, very fundamental in when it comes to your personal finance. You must have a budget, and like we mentioned earlier, your budget must be realistic. It must be achievable. It must be what works for you. So I think those are very important strategies to have at the back of your mind when it comes to your personal finance.
Okay. Well, to just add one to it, if we are talking of to stay motivated,
Ah.
like we've said, cultivate the habit of saving, a constant habit of saving. The motivation in there is that you will see that you have growth in both savings and opportunity to invest to generate more money. So that can now motivate you to do more and to keep that
Mm-hmm.
habit on. So I see that as a motivation.
Okay.
Now, what would you consider as potential pitfalls or obstacles in achieving financial goals, and how can they be overcome?
Hmm. So I know that the
Potential
popular
pitfalls or
pitfall
obstacles.
or obstacle, yes. So the major obstacle everybody complains is that the salary, my take home cannot take me home. My take home cannot take me home, not to talk of taking care of those at home. so so that's a major
Mhm.
obstacle. We can't hammer on it enough. So there's need for earning. So we start with where we are right now. That's being realistic. So your earning capacity. To encourage you to encourage saving. So the first step is to again work around upskilling. So it's either you're looking for how to grow your income. So whether it's another job, whether it's even on the current job, looking for a promotion or upskilling. For a business person, you're looking for either another stream of income, and for your existing business, you're looking for how do you expand. What are the other channels that even within the same business? So for somebody say who's into fashion and you're selling just bags, you can have clothes to eat. You can find how within the same business you can have a horizontal diversification, if I may use. So that's one obstacle, the issue of inadequate income. Another obstacle can be pressure. Like they say, you want to be like the Joneses. You want to. We mentioned Ash Owambe and all of that. You want to. Who says you must wear their ashwebi? Who says? I mean, is it that they won't serve you food if you wear their ashwebi? If you don't wear their ashwebi or what? So sometimes it can just be, go with what you have, look presentable, look smart, look clean. So peer pressure or societal pressure is also another obstacle when it comes to saving. The challenges people have when it comes to saving. There's societal pressure. Um, of course, inflation is beyond our control. Is a macro issue. It's beyond our control. But to that, it can be looking for ways to buy in discounts. Sometimes we can get savings from discounts instead of buying. So instead of buying from a retail, we could look at buying wholesale. Buying wholesale allows us to enjoy much for less. So we can look at how do we take advantage of discount buying. Discount buying can help with dealing with the minimizing the effects of inflation. um so I think those three for now. We can always add to that.
Thank you very much. Just ask one more question because of time. Are there any tools, because we are in the era of technology, are there any tools or apps that can help with personal finance and
Hmm.
goal tracking that you know?
Okay, so let me keep it very basic as your Excel. Mm-hmm. Excel. Personally, I use Excel. In short, Google Sheets. We all have Gmail. We all have Gmail, and we can use Google Sheets to track your expenses, so that as you incur an expense, you can key it into your phone or track it immediately. So Excel is a Excel/Google Sheets is highly recommended. I know Excel is a bit offline, but with Google Sheets, once you have data, which is what I do every day, as I incur an expense, a receipt, you would think I'm chatting with somebody, but I'm busy updating my expense tracker. So your Google Sheet is very, very useful for tracking expenses. In the past, I used to use a diary. So for those who like to write, who like to see ink on paper, a portable jotter or a diary can come in handy in your wallet or in your pocket, that you easily record your transactions. The only risk is that if anything happens to that data, that jotter, if water touches it, is gone. So again, back to Google Sheets. Of course, even that has its disadvantage, which is that you can mistakenly delete something and it's gone. So none is without its challenge. But between Google Sheets for those online, within your diary or your notebook, then of course there are various apps out there. There are various apps that people can take advantage of. For me, I've not found an app that
Thank
can
you
beat
very
Google Sheets
much.
for now.
Yeah, okay. Even some of our audience are giving us example uh, zero, that is XCRO, money
Okay.
dashboard, another good one. So there are many out there.
Yes.
The main point for us to note that we have, with this era of technology, we have a lot of help that we can
Yes.
get that will not cost us money. I
Yes.
want to really, really appreciate you. I wish I can go on, but because of time, I really want to appreciate our guest today,
Thank
Joanna
you.
Peter-Eze. You've done
Thank
wonderfully
you.
well. Thanks for the great
Thank
insight
you.
that you have helped to share on this critical topic. We'll probably still revisit this topic again because it's very important and at the heart of business survivor for many people.
Mhm.
But because of time, we have to hang it in there because we have to go quickly on the wrap up session before the time is past. So once again, I appreciate you. Maybe next time when we come calling, you oblige us and not
My
consider us
pleasure.
as a privatist.
At all. At
Very,
all. Thank you
very,
so
very
much.
grateful to you for your
Thank
time.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
All right,
So
ma'am.
this, thank you. I want to quickly appreciate usual audience that always follow us. Pastor Sheyi from London, Ojo from Abuja. Welcome back from America, Ojo. Then I have Wendy Garuba. We have Adeleke, my long time colleague, Adeleke Olufade. It's ask any budget tool is okay. Okay, it's also making suggestion that any budget tool will be okay for the what we are discussing. Thank you very much for your input, sir. Thank you. So I want to thank all that have uh, joined us today. I want to do a very quick recap from what our guests have shared with us, that we need to really understand our financial goals to be able to achieve both short and medium term and long term financial goals. We need to understand our income, we need to set specific goals, and then that way we'll be able to monitor them. Budget and tracking is also very important when we consider expenses, because that is when we can have a um, maybe running into problem with our expenses that can overshoot our resources or income. We have to make sure that we track and monitor closely our expenses, and we have that discipline, the financial discipline that requires for us to limit our expenses with to the resources available for us, and not continue to borrow to fund what is not very relevant. Debt management, we have talked about good and bad debt in the aspect of uh, maybe what is bringing in money rather than what is taking out. Quickly recognize Dasalu, Comfort, Adenike. Thanks for joining us. You are also making an input. Thank you all. The other one is savings and investments. No matter how little, we need to make deliberate effort to make savings. That is the only way we can grow our resources. And then when we have savings, we can invest, we can be ready for emergency fund. Nobody knows tomorrow, as they say, anything can happen. Our retirement planning is a must, because we want to enjoy the standard for that we are used to now at a later stage. We don't want to say because we have retired we suddenly go down in standard. What you used to, how you used to look and what you used to wear, you suddenly find that you are not able to cope. It's lack of planning. Like they say, if you fail to plan, you have planned to fail. So we must plan ahead. We must put something aside for the raining day, if you want to consider it like that. When you are young, you have the ability to run around. When you are older, you are not that agile, and you don't want to become liability to your loved ones. Otherwise, you just find that they will not come to greet you or say hello often enough as you want them to, if you continue to burden them with requests. So we need to be mindful of that. Also, we should uh, spare no expense for financial education, because that is important.
Very
when
true.
we when we educate ourselves, that will also help us to know what to do at the right time. Resources for learning about personal finance are many, and there are some that you don't have to pay. You have it online, even tools. Then adapting goals to life changes is also very important. Flexibility of your goal. You don't have a rigid goal. You adapt it as you go along. As there are changes, you also become flexible in your goals. Avoid common financial pitfalls, which can make you to have impulsive spending, overspending, and not saving. Those are common financial pitfalls. Then you must monitor and adjust your goal. We have said that monitoring is very important. Then financial goals for different life stages is also, and tax planning. So you need to make sure that you plan your finances in such a way that you don't get caught in a unnecessary tax liability. To make sure you minimize your tax liability. Not tax, we are not teaching tax avoidance, but management. So then charitable giving and legacy planning is, charitable giving is good, but you also have to make sure you achieve the balance. It's important to incorporate charitable giving into your financial goals to the extent that it does not hurt your financial goals. You must be very realistic, and then make sure that you plan to and pass on wealth to future generations if possible. But first and foremost, take care of yourself before you think of future generation. The, the psychology aspect of goal setting is also very important because, like we said, if you set your goal properly and you are able to stick to a discipline of saving, when you see the money grow and you are able to get enough resources to invest further and yield more money, that will get you motivated. So there are many we can go on, but time would not permit. I will just want to say as a form of conclusion that I hope you have found inspiration and practical insight to apply to your own financial goals from what we have discussed today. Remember that personal finance is not just about numbers or budgets. It's a powerful tool for achieving the life that you desire. Setting clear financial goals is the first step. In concluding, here are a few key takeaways from what we have talked about today. Set clear and specific goals, create a budget, provide for emergency fund, invest wisely. We have talked of stages of investment. Don't invest in risky projects at your later stage in life. Don't try that, or put all your investment um, pay in a risky project. Don't commit financial suicide at that age. So review and adjust your goal as you go along. Make it flexible, make it practicable, and then seek knowledge, seek advice where necessary. There's nothing wrong in that. So in your journey toward financial security and achieving your goals, remember that it's not a race, it's a marathon. It's not like a short dash, it's a marathon. Celebrate your small victories along the way and learn from any setbacks. And most importantly, stay patient and persistent. Success is in finance, in personal finance, is often about discipline and consistency. We have stressed this along the discussion with our guests. So I want to thank all of you again and even our guests for being part of this discussion. And I wish you all the best in your financial, personal finance journey. I'd like to specifically appreciate all our online audience, those that I've mentioned and those that have not been able to mention. I appreciate you all for your consistency, for following us, and for your advice from time to time. I appreciate all of you for sparing time also to connect with us today. I say thank you. Keep touch for further assistance on this topic or any other topic that we have touched on previously. I hope you have all enjoyed today's episode. Please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Comfort Eyitayo. Once you have subscribed, please turn on the notification button, like and share our videos. Stay updated with information about upcoming events at Comfort Eyitayo. That is my Facebook as well as Instagram account. Till I come your way again, I encourage each of you to take these insights and turn them into actionable steps in your life. Your financial well being and the achievement of your dreams are within your reach. Please remain blessed. Thank you for staying with us. Bye for now.